during the time that they took control, we saw so many conflicts that we've never seen. We saw so many people being killed. We saw so many killings, the gassing that went on. So when people say they want that immunity to be taken away, because people have felt the pain, people in our country have felt the pain. But then we have to be, and then what is important now is we have to investigate these. We have to investigate these crimes. We have to investigate these crimes and being able to have proof. And then by law, we can say we've got proof and that immunity will be taken away. But there's something that is more important for me. There's something that is even more important when we look at this. We got President Lungu who came into power. Probably should never have been president, should never have been anywhere near being president. When we choose our leaders, what are we looking for? It's a lesson for all of us as Zambians to say, when we make a decision, we're making a decision for somebody who's going to be fighting for our people. That when we choose a leader, we're saying, what do we know about the person that we are voting for? What do we know about this person who's coming into power? Do we know enough to put them, to give them this power? Because we never know what people are going to do with the power that they have. In all that we do, we have to say, are we giving the power to the right person? And I think a lot of us have been frustrated because we expected that a lot of these PF people will be in prison by now. There will be massive arrests here and there. And then we've had a president who's quite measured in his approach. And probably he doesn't want us, he's not working the way that we would like him to work, probably not at the pace we expect things to be done. But is that not a leader for the people? The leader who's measured? The leader who thinks, if I take this action, what's the implication for this? And in all that we're saying, we want persecutions. What is important for me is, what are we learning? What are we learning from everything that we've gone through? What are we learning from everything that we have experienced? What are we learning from what we have gone through as a nation? Are we going to be better off because of what we've gone through? Are we going to make sure that what we experience never, ever, ever repeats itself? Are we going to say, never again shall any Zambian lift a hand, lift a hammer, lift a machete against another Zambian in the name of politics, in the name of having a different view? The PF government created an agenda that said, if you've got a different view from us, you are not Zambian. If you've got a different view from us, you are our enemy. Different colors, different party colors are not meant to divide us. Different party colors are meant to unite us, to give us a second opinion. That's why there's opposition parties. Opposition parties are there to challenge what is going on and to have a healthy debate. That was a healthy debate that was taken away. And we saw this in the last days where President Lungu his language could have created so much chaos in our country, could have taken away that peace that had been worked for so many years. So it's important that the freedom that we have, in all that we do, we say, this is a freedom, I'm going to keep it. Let's keep the freedom. Like, our neighbor has got every right. So right now, our neighbor's got every right. If we've got a neighbor who supports PF, they've got every right to support whoever they want. That is a democratic right that every Zambian should have. That they should have that opinion to say that is a political party that I support, and everyone else should respect that. And what political parties are supposed to do is debate about the economy, about social, about our society, about our health. Those are supposed to be the discussions that we have. Those are not the discussions that the previous regime had. During the time of campaigning, we saw so much of the campaign that went on tribal lines. And I think we know, we've talked about that man so much on here, and we know who hired them to go and say whatever they wanted to say. So when we have to think about the chaos that almost caused. That we can't just walk away and let the people who wanted to bring that chaos in our country walk free. There has to be a price to pay, and there has to be a time, as Zambians we say, no one shall ever come and try and divide us because of where we come from. Where we come from makes us stronger. Our differences should never ever divide us. Our differences make us stronger. It's the differences that created our country. It's the differences that made our country the way we are. It's the differences that makes us stronger. And never ever let anyone come and play on those differences. Never let anybody come and say that person comes from that place and that person comes from that place, so that person is our enemy. There's no Zambian out there who's your enemy. No Zambian, whatever part of the country they are in, wherever they live, there's no Zambian out there who's your enemy. The only people who are trying to make enemies out of us Zambians are the people who are trying to get political mileage. Because these people have got no ideas. These people have got no economic ideas. These people have got no economic vision for our country. These people have got no idea about creating a better health system. Because that's why they're not saying all those things to you. They've got no ideas. They've got nothing to offer. So let's never let anyone else without an idea come and divide us. Whoever comes with tribalism, say, can you step up the other side? What have you got? What can you offer us? So it's important that we work on staying united. And if there's one thing for me that I would like ECL to really answer for, it was a campaign line that is the way his party campaigned during the elections. That could have divided our country, and let us not forget all the other things that went on. Right, I'm going to let some other people join in because I might just rant on and rant on and rant on. Wahimba, good evening.
Good evening.
You're frozen.
Good evening, Frank. How are you?
Oh, good evening. I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm
I think
fine,
you are
thank
having a
you.
bit of technical. Good. So what's your take on the president having a meeting with the Zambia Congress of Trade Unions?
I've been
I think you're having a little bit of issues there. Mr. Lifunga.
Yeah, comrade, good evening, Bakwetu. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, my friend.
Yeah, That meeting was very important, as the president stated earlier, that his ears will be to everyone. Whoever who takes sense is going to get it and see what he can do. And I'm very much pretty sure that those comrades which met the president today, have got high intellectuals, and we are looking forward to their advice and see how the president is going to take on whatever they discussed. But nevertheless, let's keep in mind that 3/4 of Earth youth who were down on the battle line during campaigns are still waiting. Let's not be selfish here to say, I want a job. Initially, almost everyone wants a job, but what's the best to all the youth at the moment? Why? One, we expect to see things change isn't how we used to operate. It's not little people who used to, to benefit from the previous regime, like it used to be, as in everyone would do anything and they go scot-free. So in as much as we want to see things moving, you people there, some of us on the platform have got upper hand. Let the arrest start. Those people who made a lot of things that they misplaced funds. Mind you, let's not forget, time is ticking, and it's no longer 5 years now. We are 4 years and some months going to an election. So you find that 3/4 of the time they are going to fight corruption and arresting people, and things are just delaying. I'm happy with the DCs and everyone that has been appointed. I know we are facing in the right direction, but the president has to be very firm and shouldn't do things. This slowness they are taking is too much. Thank you for the right. Otherwise, we are still watching. Let me reserve for other people to contribute.
Thank you very much. It's very important for me. I always say, I think we want things to be done quicker. We want things to really move on. And when we first started, and I was thinking the same, it's like, why does things go really slow? I just want to share this analogy. A friend of mine, when we were talking about, he had me talk about Zambian politics, and I was telling them about how we want the change to be quick. He's a builder, and he says, if I go into a house that was really damaged for years, you can't expect me to walk in and in a couple of days and give you a perfect house, because it's going to take a lot of times. Sometimes you would want me to be decorating something, but I won't be decorating it. I'll actually be breaking it down, because it's completely broken and I can't fix it. And the only way to do that is just break it down and put something new. And I think it's important we understand it was 10 years of the PF government. They did whatever they did. And we can't expect HH to walk in and fix all the damage that was done in the last 10 years. You will not be able to do it. He's been president of Zambia for 3 months. For 3 months, we expect miracles in everything that I've done. The first thing that he has to do before we build the Zambia that we want is rebuilding. Is really rebuilding. What the PF government did is they did not leave him a foundation. They did not leave a strong foundation. It's come in and goes, the foundation is weak and we have to start building this properly. And we're going to have to be a little bit more patient. When somebody destroys something for years, it simply cannot be fixed in a short period of time, no matter how much we want. But Philip, you are muted.
Hello, good evening, Frank.
Yeah, good evening.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, my brother. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Linda Banks, how are you there? Okay,
Well,
good evening. Iliashi, do you listen Bemba Frank?
Don't fall, I'm so done, don't fall.
Kabidi Petra Sakamaneri Ngiri Nefu. Kamwadishi Baba Group D. We get worried jinga tuamone slow. Ya turasakamana mwadishba balando kubatinso kaboma kumutwe. It is very dangerous kuli point ya president besu yako bati bambo kusende fintu slow. Insoka nga waikata kumuchila ila suma. These people, they are burying the evidence. They don't want to be caught. So they are doing everything possible bakobati tabali mu bwafya. Okay.
Are you still there? You're breaking up.
Hello. Hello, are you getting me?
Yeah.
Yes. So ababantu aba, what they want is kushika ma evidence. Bashika afutanga bashika ma evidence. Balambokula pilibuka. Mamona ba Frankie, umuntu aiba mataba, aikwibira muibala wa musanga na kasaka kamataba. Ero dida wa musanga kabiri wa mbokula fire evidence that we are investigating. What are you investigating? That person nikabwala ala kumutwala bwangu kuchifungo pakutira kwabo kuchefya ko tuntutumo ema problems ayashirepwa ubuteko nga bwaba slow abantu balashika ma evidence and they will turn around because balaona ule fintu ero nomba paranga baona ule fintu elo bambe okula piluka nokula ndefya ifya pusanako emulandu in Zambia. We need to be very brave. We need to speak for the Zambians. This is not the time ukubata bani ba PF bani ba UPND. We need to be Zambians. We need to stand firm. Apanomba, we need to produce good checks and balances. Are you getting me, Frank?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to start producing checks and balances. Pakweba ati fiambo kula moneka. Ifintu fimota fire wama awe. Bakabwala ala balamba nombo kutuka abashayivireko n'obuchushi bwala kulirako. Then concerning na utuma investment chirefo kukola sana bambi balandeko. I just want chirefo baraba ni minister kwaisa ka invest kwaisa ka chance kako bati bapokeko ka contract bapoka elo futi the same person alufyanya kabiri aba muntu mo who likes to follow up investigation. That's the reason why Mirandu Shimo they are just dying natural death. Tapadi na bakushkonka. So Muzambia tuwe serious and seriousness iringire yambira pali ifwe bene. Tuambi okula alanda pachintu icha aluwa na tualanda. Icha awama tuatasha. We need to produce good checks and balances. We need just to stand up together. Takulifia ba PF, takulifia ba UPND. Ngafia awama tuatasha, ngafia bipa. We need to speak. Na totera mkwai.
And that is a very good point. There's something that Mr. Msonda just mentioned about being Zambian. You know, when we have these political parties, as a democratic right, we can do whatever we want. We can vote for whoever we want. But at the same time, we have to have the wisdom to say, this person is doing this for my country. This person is doing this for my country and I can benefit. So I give you an example of the honeybee scandal. That should have been a countrywide outcry. But there were still people who are going, it's PF. No matter what happens, I'm going to support them. That's not what we do. We have to have the wisdom to say, this political party is not serving my country. It's not serving my people. It's not benefiting any of my relatives. I will vote for this other party that will benefit. And when the government does something that benefits the people, we have to celebrate that. What we've seen over the last few days is we saw one of the most, for me, one of the most inspiring budgets that we've seen in our country, especially in this difficult COVID time that we're going through. But then you saw the opposition there going, they were arguing with it. They're arguing with the budget. You know, when the budget says we're going to give 26 million to the constituents, and you hear a member of parliament say, but why are they giving that money? Is literally you get members of parliament arguing the fact that the government is going to give money to their constituency. They're arguing the fact that the government is going to give money to their people to support their people. They're arguing the fact that the money is going to go to those poor places where resources just simply never go. This is a backward thinking that holds us back. They were not saying, oh, great, there's money that's going to benefit my constituency. And please stop with this nonsense of people won't know how to use money. People know how to use money. People know where they want to spend money. Farmers know what they need to buy. People will know how to use money. All that we need is accountability to know where that money is going. So this nonsense about people who never know how to use this money, people should stop that. We've been asking and crying for resources to move out of Lusaka to go into our people in the villages. And when these opportunities come, somebody is opposing. Finchi mufwaya. But Jacqueline.
Good evening. Thank you, Frank. My takeaway today during the meeting between the president and the ZCTU was the fact that the president mentioned that in the next meeting, he would like to have ZCTU in there, so the trade union in there, government, and the business community. And I think for a lot of Zambians, it's good progress, because the president does not want decisions where if he knows players in industry bali more for, he just meets babili, bachita agree apope ne bapanga decisions. But that call means that balefo I want some players in industry bese bekalipa table pam. Nefo balesumnisha film. What is he trying to avoid? He's trying to avoid what we've seen in the past. Lelo ababayima balandechi batali msame industry. Mailo nabo bayina nabo balandechi. Nombanga bayikala pa table bonse pa government, ba union, nama business entities. Ngabasumunishanya retirement age ni fyanfuika. Napsa kulipira abantu nga mulechita deduct you make sure you remit that money. Basumunishanya fyakula chitika ba business mwakola fichita ba union mwakola chita monitor emkwai na mwa government mwakola fichita abantu bakola poka pension on time. Yes, I think for me that was very important. Number one. Number two, this tribal talk that the opposition is trying to bring in the country is one, outdated. Number two, it's not important. Mu era tulimo ni new era. Who are the majority of this population, ama youths, tabaishi wakapaturula kamtundu. Na ngfe ifwe bale na mkuba 50, iminero tuwale kula na kapatula kamtundu tapati. So there's no way tuwala suminisha ama members of parliament eba tampo kulalanda kuya. Danger ilipo yako bati, we have so many people mu Zambia abasha asambilila. Ama statistics, they show us that. And this means that some people will believe because those messages or the pronouncements of tribalism are coming from parliament. We have so many people that believe what is coming out of parliament is gospel truth. No manga tuwakwata wa opposition every day balebo kafe tribalism uyalande chibamba nokula itabantu wa mashina. That's dangerous. So my advice, especially to the people of Zambia, by youth na bonsabantu, tuilasu mnisholu onso waleta kapatula kamtundu kale nangu ni munganda kumu ikatamu kumweba lekeni ifyo fyala leta ma problems tuwali mwene for tribalism yachitile in the last few years. Up to now as we speak, there are people who've died because they're from a certain tribe. There are people who still feel, am I part of Zambia? Abantu bali ba hurt. So we shouldn't allow it. If anything, civil society should carry out a peaceful demonstration to the speaker peaceful demonstration to parliament and even well-meaning Zambians and go and mention to the speaker that any member of parliament that is going to be, making tribal remarks in that house should be sent out without question or defense or seeking an explanation. Gapanga fe tribal remark. Gabama fet, can you get out of this place? Abantu bonse balamba okutina. Nokuyichintika munse twala ichindika. Pantaba opposition ifatampa balishi befo bale ekitakale balepatula abantu mutundu abantu bamba okuyipayana abantu balayita nfyama kito abantu balatanana abantu balakitawo kwetufa otundala mati uyishindala masha uyo mutundu abambite bakwate balefo abafirete futhi. So we have to put that to an end. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. And it's important. I always say this, when I was growing up, it did not matter where the tribe somebody was. All my friends were completely different tribes, and we always used to ask the question, where do your parents come from? And we always knew that there was a Kaunda down the road, there was a Kaunda next door, there was a Nyanja opposite us, and that was part of what we lived. We were one people. We were one people, and let's not let that divide us. And I went to boarding school in Mutanda, just outside Sulawesi. I didn't know any Kaunda when I went there, but I went there and I learned a few things here and there. And people understood that was not my first language, and people embraced me in that. And I can remember going to church in Mutanda, and I could not speak any Kaonde, and I could not understand what was going on, but I felt welcome. I felt I belonged, that where I came from did not matter. And it never has. I never felt like that. And there people were trying to use this for political mileage by saying, it's because you're from Northern, because you're from Eastern. That should never, ever, ever happen in our country. Bahimba, you disappeared on me.
I had a technical problem, Frank. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, TBAKWETU team. Tumwaha, welcome to Filila. Tumwaha, Wijankata, Tumwaha, go Nanduva, Tumwaha, Gumagwet. We've greeted you. Greetings from TBAKWETU team. Barbara, I greet you.
Greetings, Bahimba. How are you?
I'm fine, my dear. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Nice to see everybody. Nice to see Frank. Jacqueline, you haven't got your face on, but Bangwet, I haven't got your face on, but nice to meet everybody. Nice to meet everybody wherever they are, up and around the countries and the world.
Yeah. Just to see you. Coming back to our topic, I would love to talk about the young people who demonstrated to us this morning. I think for me, that was a brilliant move, and I really support it, because we are not, I've heard some people are saying, no, there's no need of removing ECL's immunity because the president has to be protected. If we are fighting corruption, can we just grab whatever he had to appoke ama assets? I think for me, it's not only about corruption we are talking about here. There are a number of things. There's one thing we are forgetting as Zambian people. The thing we are forgetting is ECL was not the PF president. No, he was the president of Zambia. And what does that mean? We trusted him with the national coffers. We trusted him with our lives. We trusted him with the inheritance of the nation. We trusted him with our national security. During his leadership, a lot of lives were lost. We've not been given any report about what happened. We are still singing what happened to Zaman Sama, what happened to the Namgala boy, what happened to the Yunza student, what happened to Mapenzi. We need to be told. We trusted him with our lives as Zambian people. When he went to get the power of instruments, We were literally telling him, we trust you to protect our lives. What happened in the gassing? He's responsible. He has to tell us. He may not have done it physically, but he's got the responsibility to tell us. And we employed him, so he should be accountable. When we gave him the instrument of powers and when he accepted, he was literally accepting that whoever is going to injure any Zambian person, I'm going to bring them to book. And he's not done it. He's broken the promise. So he just has to be accountable to us. We want to know why he didn't give us an account, why he didn't protect us. During the gassing, do we know what happened up to today? Nothing has happened. So we want to know what happened. So if all these things, they cannot be investigated, if all these things we can't be given records, then it's sad. And if Edgar Lungu, somebody has said, can I borrow their statement where they're saying, if Edgar Lungu cannot be answerable, once and that awe, niwakateka, and he's got immunity, niwakateka, and he's got immunity. Probably, maybe he volunteers himself to say he's going to help us or he's going to give us the records, because all these people who were in these positions, they were appointed by him. Kanganja was appointed by him. Kampyongo was appointed by him. Ababa tupele miti, yet later ama problems ayavola. They were appointed by him. And apparently he did not take them to task to give us an explanation as the Zambian people. So it's not only about corruption. We want him to help the government to execute and follow up on all these issues. I rest my case for now.
Thank you very much. And it's important for accountability, and I think it's very important for our country in moving forward that people are accountable for their actions, accountable for what they did. You can't have an whole ministry poisoning our country and everybody walks away scot-free. It's just, it doesn't bode well for the future. It doesn't bode well for a country that somebody could go ahead and just say, I can do whatever I want to do and I'll get away with it because I know the president. And I think if that immunity of the president is removed, then everybody else know they can't just blame it on the president, because they know that even the president as well could be arrested. And he's got a lot to answer for. And some of the comments President Lungu used to make when he was president were a lot careless. As a president, you can't come out and say, it's kind of like, you cannot say things like that. You have to have an attitude, say, this does not happen. And some of his comments during that time, it was evidence that he was just breeding the corruption that was going on Patriotic Front at the time. Well, Dr. Barbara. You are muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much for that. I came in late today because it's mid November. It's that time of the year where you don't know whether it's almost Christmas, it's all nearly Christmas. It's don't mention Christmas time, but I went shopping. It was so busy. So coming back, in regards to, I'll start with the tribalism. The talk of tribalism. I think where Zambia is headed now, we have to be prepared to have something in writing, in legislation, that we should not be tribalist. The same way you can't be racist. If I went to work in the UK and I saw a Chinese workmate and I work, oh, hi, you Ching Chong, I would be sacked. I would have a problem at work. It wouldn't even be a joke. Nobody will find it funny because it's wrong. I wouldn't make monkey signs and say, oh, hi, and another person makes monkey signs to me. It is wrong. It will be an offense. That's the way we should look at tribalism in Zambia as well. We've reached a point where you have people who are aspiring to be presidents in the country making fun of people who rear cattle. That's the same as making a monkey sign. It's exactly the same. It's coming from the same mindset. You have people looking down upon certain tribes that do certain things, and you have young children even imitating those things and trying to, make everybody become a tribalist. That should be stopped. And then you have lately, because I haven't been on Bakwetu, we even had somebody who was responsible for the health of Zambians. On his watch, he made people take wrong medication that has expired. We are talking about painkillers that are used by very vulnerable people who have cancer, who have different type of ailments. If you look at the tablets, even in the pictures, these are things that were being made in some dump somewhere. Some people have caught infections from those things, they've died. Some of them had an exacerbation of their conditions and they've died. We have a person without any remorse, without even coming up to say, this was on my watch. It was on your watch that this happened. You have to take responsibility. Whether you don't know who signed it or you know who signed it, the fact that you were in charge of that department, of that ministry, that's something that is on your watch. For that person to come back and say he wants that same government to now pay him 50 million because his reputation of killing people has been damaged, that's absolutely shocking. It beggars belief that somebody can actually even have the audacity to go to the papers, to go to even his lawyers and tell them that, yeah, I was a minister of finance, Honeybee was selling wrong drugs, expired condoms. And yeah, it wasn't me, by the way. The courts, after I paid them and I went with cadres to even dance around the courts and everything was fine, and now pay me 50 million US dollars in Zambia. He's absolutely a lunatic. I'm sorry to say. There's something absolutely wrong. This so-called clique, I'll call them a clique, they feel they're above the law. They feel they run Zambia. They feel Zambia is their backyard. That's the why. Even the president, the ex-president Balungu, if he's honorable enough, he could say, you know what, I'll volunteer to have my immunity removed because maybe I was in the wrong mind, that I was actually jumping up and down like a little boy saying things like that was actually celebrating corruption. Oh, that's literally telling people that you can steal some, just make sure you leave a little bit for the poor, miserable people. That's really, really bad. Those young people who are, demonstrating to say the president should lose his immunity, they're absolutely right. Actually, those are young people who are even innocent. Those are the young people who don't even have the kind of money that these people have. These people get opportunities that you can't even believe. They give birth to children because of the money that they have. Their children become MPs. The same poor, miserable people are the one clapping for them. Oh, she's so innocent. She's so humble because she's got the money. If that young boy on the street was picked to become an MP, they wouldn't even afford to have a post. They wouldn't have anybody supporting them. So they have to take responsibility. In the words of the film that the kids love, what is it, Superman? How do they say it? With great responsibility comes what? With great powers comes
great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. Let me rest my case before I go on, before I start fuming.
There's a point that you've just raised there, and we see the children of a former president. They've got a comfortable life. They've gone to school abroad. They've studied. They've got that education. And our people out there can't afford to do that. They can't afford to take their children to school. To school, they can take their children abroad. So they won't bother to develop the schools where our people go. They won't bother to develop the universities where people go. They won't even bother to build toilets, as we had the discussion yesterday. The universities where our people go, because why? They don't care, because their children go up and they come back and they become MPs, and the cycle continues. We have to make our leaders.
It's a glorified apartheid system that is invisible. They don't value the children that are going to the cheap universities. To them, those universities are rubbish. They can come to University of Manchester, University in England. They will have a meal in the university restaurant with their kids. They'll even go to the toilet there and then go back to their own country go to your university without a toilet that would cost less than £100 probably just to fix, and they don't care. This has got nothing to do with the investor. It's got nothing to do with who is who. It's just pure negligence and lack of responsibility and hating oneself. We hate ourselves, to be fair, because if you can destroy your own university, which is a reputable place where people go to have higher education, there are lords and sirs who studied at the University of Zambia who are now, in very reputable places. Instead of looking after that university, we don't want to do it. I rest my case. I submit Bahimba. I think my battery is dying. Let me put my laptop on the charger.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. I always say, why is it that our politicians, if they created a wonderful hospitals in our country, why don't they go to those hospitals? Why do they get on the plane to get treatment? If education in our country was fine, why do they put their children on the plane to go and get education somewhere? In all of that, they're telling us, we don't believe this system. The system that we run, we don't think it's good enough for our children. We don't think it's good enough to educate this university. I don't think it's good enough to educate my son, my daughter. This hospital, I don't think it's good enough to treat me, my family. So we're going to go on the plane and we're going to go away because they know it's insufficient. But Patrick Chilufya.
Yes, Frank, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
Okay, good evening, Bakwetu, Bahimba, Barbara, Jacqueline, and good evening, viewers. Yeah, I think most of my colleagues have spoken about something, but I just want to amplify some of the things. I think, Frank, we need a commission of inquiry. And there are a lot of things that have happened in the last 10 years of the PF misrule. We can't even say PF misrule. And also some of the things that happened beyond before the 10 years. We can't just move forward and say the new Dawn government, they will correct things, the wrong things that happened. But we also need to look backwards and go through some of the things that happened and then try to correct them. The best example is South Africa. There was a commission of inquiry there, Truth and Reconciliation, to look at what happened during the apartheid rule. And we're talking about 500 and something years. And most recently between the time Mandela was jailed and up to 1994. I think Zambia, we need to have a commission of inquiry. Yes, there are people like Chilufya Chitalu because they were tried, and because then Abe Neba Kasa Kandarama controlled all the institutions. There was no separation of powers between the executive, parliament, and the courts, the justice. So Chilufya thinks he cannot be tried again because of double jeopardy, but a commission of inquiry can be instituted, and they can talk about one of the issues they can bring about there is honeybee, so that the state knows what exactly happened, and if that happened, Chilufya would be called. And the public will ask questions. And if that happened, Chilufya won't behave the way he's behaving. Chilufya is like a lunatic. How can somebody who poisoned, because giving expired drugs to the public, it's like putting poison in drinking water. We don't know the consequences of that poisoning 10, 20, 50 years to come, yet. And then things like gassing, we cannot just let that slip. Somebody knows, somebody has got a foul somewhere. Who was involved in gassing? Why were the people gassed? There should be a commission of inquiry and people should be booked. Why do we pay, people in the police and other investigatory teams Why do we pay them so much money? We've got directors there. Why can't they get to the bottom of this matter? We've got police brutality and Lungu Misru, Kampyongo. You know, imagine the demonstration of students a few days ago. If it happened under Kampyongo's leadership or Lungu's leadership, some people would have been killed. Look at the way Samansama was killed. Look at the way Kaunda was killed. Has anybody been prosecuted? Why can't we have a commission of inquiry to talk about the police brutality? Because we might say that is going to stop. What if UPND stays in government for 10 years? And after 10 years, it continues. So, and it continues. What's going to happen? You know, we've got issues like HH arrested 15 times. We've got issues like tribalism during the last 10 years. All the permanent secretaries, 95% of them were from the 4 provinces. You know, 3 provinces from the north and 1 province from the east. What about the ministers? The same thing. What about DCs? And the same thing. What about parastatals? A lot of people like people from the Zambezi, people who they perceived to be UPND were fired. And then they employed the cadres and the children of ministers if you go to ZESCO, you find that ZESCO is only full of children and nephews and relatives of former ministers. You know, I know at ZESCO, some of these ministers who make noise, their nieces work at ZESCO. The problem is, why is ZESCO not performing? You see the issue of tribalism. Tribalism is not only bad because other people are treated unfairly or unfavorably, it also affects the performance. Why is ZESCO, a utility company that is supposed to be profitable? It's a monopoly. Why is ZESCO so indebted? Why is ZESCO unprofitable? Because they have employed people there who they cannot fire. Cadres, children of the cadres, relatives of ministers. If, for example, Lusambo's niece, who works for ZESCO, was underperforming at ZESCO, you tell me they would fire him when Lusambo was a minister? I'm just giving an example.
Absolutely, absolutely not. It's not going to happen.
Yes.
It wouldn't happen.
Yeah, because what I'm saying, but Frank, is the truth. Lusambo's niece work at ZESCO. And if they fired that Lusambo's niece, what would happen? The chief executive of ZESCO would be fired. Or would they even start to discipline Lusambo's niece if Lusambo's niece is underperforming? Or Kanduluo's niece works at ZESCO. Would they even start disciplining Nkanduluo's niece or relative? So these are the things we need to stop. We need to look at what caused, especially tribalism. But Barbara mentioned something very important, and I've been agitating that. I've been talking about that. Why is the UK, South Africa, they've got Race Relations Act, which makes tribalism, racism, nepotism unlawful. Why can't Zambia pass a law that makes tribalism unlawful? I rest my peace for now.
And that is a very important. That's a very important point, because I'm a human resource person, and every time I sit in hearings where people will come in and they will say, I lost my job because of my disability. I lost my job because of the color of his skin, and we sit through these cases, and we're living in a country where people lost their jobs because of what part of the country they came from, and they had nowhere to go. And it simply cannot happen. And race relation laws should be introduced, and that should be a priority, that we start working on them, and we say nobody should be treated differently because of where they come from. Nobody should have an advantage because the person in power comes from their part of the province. It just should not happen, because it brings about, it slows the economy down. And well, Patrick Chulufi has mentioned something that's very important. ZESCO is the only power company we have in Zambia. Now, can somebody tell me why Zesco doesn't make profits day in, day out when it's got no competitors? That tells you all. Because there's no other company that they can say is competing against Zesco. That's the only utility company we have in the country. Anyone who wants electricity in Zambia has to have Zesco. Everyone who has electricity in Zambia has to have Zesco. So there's no way Zesco would be making a profit, would be making a loss. But they make a loss simply because of having inadequate people. And we've heard of people who were on Zesco's payroll and have never worked there because somebody in government put them there. And when we have wrong leadership, this is the kind of things that comes into our country. And it has to be a reminder for every Zambian of what has happened. But Wiseman. Wiseman? Okay, Wiseman is not here. I'll go back to Bahimba.
Yes, Frank. You know, I just want to address these political leaders who are championing tribalism. Maybe to educate them a little bit. Probably they may understand. Even if to land the but we would have played our part. Even when we are going to be asked, what did you do when this tribalism was being championed in your country? We are going to say, no, we did our part. But I want to so I just want to say something to them, which may be this tribalism they are preaching, they're actually preaching it to the wrong generation. This generation we have now, tribalism to them, it's rubbish. Tribalism to us, it's rubbish. It doesn't want any water nor vapor. One of the reasons why Patriotic Front was removed from power is tribalism. Whether they like it or not, they should go back to the drawing board. They'll find that one of the reasons why they lost the elections is tribalism. Why am I saying so? Young people now, they won't even believe, they won't even buy that message. If now in Zambia we have a young person who would fall in love, I'm sorry, this is I don't know how I can say it, because we are in an area where racism is not tolerated. But for me to give this example, to say this message, I need to go that way. Young people now can date somebody who comes from Japan and they'll get married. They can even date an Indian person and get married. So do you think if a person can even marry an Indian person, what will stop them from marrying a Lunda man? What will stop them from marrying a Nsenga woman? So whatever they're talking about, young people, they are civilized, they are educated. For them, what is important is love. So as much as they are speaking, they are chanting, you are speaking, and the tribalism, you are just wasting your energy and your resources. You are just planting, actually, you are just planting hatred within your heart, because young people, they won't buy this. This is the 21st century where people, they, even Abashasa and Bidila, they've got a desire to have the right information. They've got a desire to have the facts on their tables. So if you are PF Malela under tribalism, they're just wasting their time. But having said that, we shouldn't rest. We have to preach against it. We have to keep on talking against it, because there are again young people who are being paid to champion this message. And it's high time we have to stand up as Zambian people with our motto, one Zambia, one nation, so that these political leaders who are championing their personal agenda based on tribalism, they become useless in the political arena. Then secondly, Frank, when we are talking about the medication, for giving you for killing you in the pileni. I'm thinking of a woman or a young girl somewhere who had sexual intercourse with maybe just a boyfriend, thinking they've protected themselves against STIs, against early pregnancies, against HIV/AIDS. Then this girl goes to the man who, both of them, they are very sure that they had used contraceptives, they had used the condom as well. Then she goes to the man and says, I'm pregnant. You trapped me because you wanted me to marry you. You trapped me because you wanted your family, because of Chilufya. Even now, when he's demanding for money, he's actually telling this child, for you to get pregnant, you have to pay me. I made you to get pregnant, you have to pay me. This is what he's saying. This man, does he have conscience? You know, they shouldn't take the Zambian people for granted. We want to know about Ochere City Market. We want to know. So these people, they should actually be human being enough. As Barbara said, let them come and say, okay, in investigate. Okay, in any immunity. I want to be investigated. I want my name to be cleared, because one thing we should know, you can uplift the immunity of the president, and then after investigation. So if they know they are clean, why are they holding on to this immunity? Let him come out. We remove the immunity. We investigate after he's clean. We give him back his immunity. As simple as that, Frank. I rest my case.
Yeah. They're a clique of thieves. I think they know. Some of the things that went on, let's talk, if we talk about the fire trucks for $42 million US, you think about what that could have done for our country. That could have bought proper medication. The way they run the country, the horror stories I used to hear. Now, I used to work in clinical governance before the operation, and I've sat there before the operation, and I've looked at what have we got, what do we need before the operation? We need this and the other and the other and the other. Have we got everything? We go, then we go for the operation. Some of the horror stories used to hear is in the middle of an operation, we go, do you need that medication? And somebody say, oh, we ran out. The things that you're supposed to have, the things that should never run out, we're running out in hospitals. How does a hospital run out of medication? But Chilufya imwenga mwaisa kunganda mwaisa na mumfuensala mwafika kunganda mwaisa wanachilufya akabwarishani wanachilufya ubunga nabupwa mwa chilufya mwalalandat nishta mwanjebele tubunga nabupwa nga mwaisa ya number 2 na ya number 3 mwalalandat wanachilufya masetinga ya nishta mlenjebele tubunga nabupwa. Those are basic things that we should have in a hospital. That is somebody who's supposed to have accountability of, these are medications that we're using, this is what we've got left, and this is what we need in order to do the things that we wanted to do. But the way the whole system was run, the basic things that needed to be done were never done. The basic things that needed to be done when we go to hospitals were never done. Because people were more concerned about how much money they can get out of it. And because everybody's focusing on how much money they can get out of the Ministry of Health, nobody was thinking, if we look after our nurses very well, if we make sure that our nurses and doctors are paid, they're going to do the jobs very well. The impact that the corruption had was, for example, if you are a doctor and you think, oh, I'm not being paid, you're thinking, where can I get extra money? So you're thinking, I'm going to do some spare work at the private hospital, private clinic. So at 4 o'clock, you're thinking, I need to go to that clinic so I can make money to buy bread for my children. So if a patient comes in at 4 o'clock, where is that doctor's mind? The doctor's mind is, I need to get out of here because I need to make money because I don't have money. Where I work, I wouldn't say I get paid a lot of money, but I get paid enough money to make sure that when I'm at work, I'm not worrying about how am I going to feed my family, because that job pays me to have sufficient food to buy food for my family. These people were stealing and not paying doctors. And these doctors are having to do other things to go and raise money, and they're not treating these patients as they should. Dr. Barbara.
You're absolutely right, Frank. In regards to the hospitals, I always think that, in Zambia and in Africa as a whole, we have shocking self-hatred. When I say self-hatred, if you don't improve the hospitals where you're going to be, there's not a single human being in Zambia who will not at one point be in a government hospital. Not even one. You can be a multi-billionaire, you can be even somebody at the top of the end of the pyramid in Zambia at the apex. Imagine you're involved in a car accident in a rural area. People will not run to that car saying, oh, let's now call the private hospital, let's call the insurance company for the helicopter that will come and pick him up. No, they don't even know that helicopter. They'll just pick up the body, take you to the nearest place that they can take you to. Now, if where they are going to take you, there is nothing, you're literally hating on yourself. Even if you're going to die, the mortuary that you're going to be placed in is the same one that you don't want to improve. It's not like there's another place where they're going to take you, because your relatives won't even have a clue, because most of these people got illegal money. Their families don't even know how rich they are, where the money came from. We have to start loving ourselves to manage our country. We have to start, we need to re-educate ourselves on how we can provide and move on. We have to tremble. If a small child dies, if you meet a small child on the street, they're hungry, you have to feel scared, you have to worry, and you have to think to yourself, how is it possible that in the town where I'm living, how is it possible that I can drive such an expensive car and there's a child who cannot have even the barest minimal? When we reach a culture, the dangerous culture where it becomes normal, it's okay for the poor to be there and the rich to be that side. It's okay where these people have reached a stage where they can even rape other people's kids. They can give them barest minimal. They can have 10 kids, 20 kids, because the same person with a lot of money can go and take a child from Kalingalinga and call a lawyer and pay millions just to protect themselves from that poor little child, because they don't value them as human beings. In their eyes, those are rubbish things. They're things to use. If we start respecting life, we start respecting humanity, you won't steal the medication that you're going to make other people use. You think to yourself, the painkillers that these people are having, there's somebody with cancer, there's somebody who's been in an accident, there's somebody who suffers from severe migraine headaches. They may need this medication. You will not sell it. So we have to re-educate ourselves. In Zambia, we've got that culture of everything happens at the good of humanity. Or if you find a nurse in the hospital, they have to just be kind from the goodness of their hearts. No, people have to be educated on customer service. They have to learn how to treat patients. They have to learn how to treat the people. A patient is a customer. A person buying a phone is a customer. A person putting on fuel is a customer. We are all customers at one point or the other. So we have to learn to respect humanity. And that comes from the top. When the president in charge disrespects human beings, everything falls and goes in that way. Now we have a president who respects human beings. He was there saying he doesn't want people to have Christians for his dilemma. He wants Christians for Jesus. The mindset already of Zambian people has twisted to think that way. Before we had idiots coming up praying, oh, Somone fiolungwa chita, Somone. That's a beautiful song. Now when you sing it, you just start thinking, we have to start respecting human beings. We really have to. When we respect human beings, when you look, even if you say, oh, I'm going to have an orphanage in Zambia, that orphanage should have a bed where my own son should sleep. If I go and visit that orphanage, I should be able, me as Barbara, to sleep on the bed and say, oh, nice, I'm an orphanage in Nachtaran. Today I'm going to sleep here with you. That mindset of you open orphanage where you can't sleep yourself, you can't eat in the same place, you're just using poor people to start making money for yourselves. We have to stop that mindset. That's the mindset the PF had. Everybody has, oh, I'm doing this for this one, I'm doing this for this one. If you go there, you can't even eat the beans that they're eating themselves. You go and eat in the hotel and then go and look after the poor people and take pictures with them. In election time, everybody's hugging a baby here and there. A baby who hasn't had breakfast.
Yeah.
Let
No
me
kubeba
submit
timukaderi.
you can go on.
No kubeba timukaderi Afrikandolo.
Exactly.
Without even shame.
Oh, you're in a candle, it's seasonal. It's not like you can just find it every day.
That 2 penny in change of shopping. What is 2 penny?
Imagine that boasting to a poor person that, oh, what is 2 million? What is 2 million?
I know, you get
2 million.
It's a level of irresponsibilities that people are hungry, children were not going to school, and you had all this much money being flushed around everywhere. Everywhere you look, there was money. Well, Patrick Chilufia.
Yes, Frank. I think, Frank, you made a very important point, Nava Barbara. I just want to allude to that. Imagine a government spending $42 million on 42 wheelbarrows. And then, Frank, the sad thing is, you mentioned about working in clinical governance. You know that Zambia, we've got a lot of complicated cases now, cancers and everything. You know that UTH doesn't have an MRI scanner, even a CT scanner. You know, people
and that's our biggest hospital in the country.
Yes. So people have to be given a prescription or a letter to take it to a private clinic to go and do a CT scanner, and they have to pay for it. So where was the priority of this government? And yet we've got a president who goes and buy an inflated jet for himself with the $200 million maintenance cost on that plane. And yet we don't have an MRI scanner. An MRI scanner might cost about $1 million. And then you go and spend $42 million on old wheelbarrows or fire engines. You know, I think we need a commission of inquiry to investigate why we don't have a CT scanner in the hospital. A hospital like University Teaching Hospital, we don't have Barbara, an MIR scanner in that hospital.
You know, the thing is that in Zambia, you know, people are not told the truth of what is needed for a particular illness. So if somebody builds a hospital and then they put maybe electric BP machine, electric ultrasound machine, and then they paint the building, make it look fantastic. People are like, oh, but PF halabali bomba normally building mwachibana naka BP machine, aka electricity, aka digital, naka, you know, these tiny little things. Some of them maybe they just pick them up from expired use. You know, the hospitals have all these things that when they're changing their utilities, they throw them to somewhere else. Somebody will come and buy them. People don't understand. You can't have. Recently, I had my niece who died of a tumor in the head. May I also rest in peace. You have to have, you know, the feeling of somebody has a tumor in the brain, and then you all have to donate as a family. You all have to find money for this child to go and have a CT scan. By the time she's having a scan, there's a raised pressure in the brain. By the time she's having the treatment, it's too late. And then deep down, you know that this is not supposed to be like that. This is just a young, beautiful girl who's died because of lack of facilities. And then you wake up in the morning in another country, another person, exactly the same thing. They've woken up, they're absolutely fine. They're even playing tennis there within a couple of months. It feels so painful that you ask yourself, why? Why? You know, life is dependent on where you're born, where you're coming from. Your survival depends on the means that you have. These people who are showing off, they have their children. When their children are ill, they'll be the first ones to call the helicopters. It's actually a luxury. Yeah. Oh, my uncle fell ill in Kasama, so not in the Cape. People become envious. They even start voting for them because they become the upper class, the class that you feel is entitled to certain things, not knowing that that's your money. You should not be entitled to a different lifestyle using the money that other people are working hard for. Even that marketeer who's selling at the market, the money that she's exchanging in her hands, that's the money that's collected for other people's children to go and have a fantastic life. The same children will come back, they've got a fantastic accent, they become MPs, they become this and that, and they're still using the same poor people. Even if you can't at least be humble, at least give back to your society, at least have empathy. By now, we should have a website where you can just say, if you've got cancer, this is where you can book the CT scan. This is where you can have, it even gives you the availability. That's so simple. Honestly, you can book an appointment and say, this person is, so that you have daily replies. They even tell you, today it's not working. Today we had a car accident, so maybe some appointments will be cancelled. That sounds so simple on paper. Why is it so difficult for us to think like that? For us to do that, before you know it, instead of just buying that CT scan, put it in there. If I make that suggestion, it will go to level 2. Level 2 will say, oh, Baba to investigate the possibility if you're chinga bomba because henceforth, we have to do feasibility study.
Reports first.
Level 3, another one wants to start. At every level, people are getting a penny. So something that was supposed to cost £1 million will reach 34 million. Na plan ya kukule nganda. But you in a CT scan. The barest minimum galine bona chambila po limbine na kwata kwa kapia ga kushita fridge or next ashita motoka or next. That's the reason it doesn't work, because we hate ourselves. And then down the line, we always know muntu aisa kwata cancer. The same people start crying. You go to South Africa, they look down upon you. Mwaisa kunone mpia shenu kuma UK. How are you doing, Brian? Are you feeling good? Customer service. And then they come and tell you, no, the cancer is, it's just palliative care. We can't do anything. So literally, you're just wasting money. You could have just stayed within Zambia. Somebody in Zambia can still tell you hi and have some coffee. That's how money is wasted. I submit, let me go on. These medical things just make me lose it.
Frank, can I say something just before you come in? Frank, you know that I lived in South Africa, in Johannesburg. And our office was in a very popular street in Parktown. It's called Parkland Road. That's where Coca-Cola was, BP. I was then working for Castro. In that road, there was a very popular hospital called Parkland Clinic. A lot of people know it in South Africa. So there were two hospitals Zambians were using. There was Parkland Clinic, Milpark. Milpark wasn't far away from Parkland Clinic. Parkland Clinic was just a walking distance from my office. If I tell you, Frank, how many Zambians I met for the first time because their relatives, rich relatives, and that was during the MMD government, were coming to that hospital. Whenever they had a restaurant, whenever I enter there, somebody discovered I'm from Zambia, they want to start worshiping me because they thought Zambians have got money, because every week there were jets flying into a private airstrip in Johannesburg to bring the rich Zambian patients to the clinic. Can you believe it? Now, what about the poor people? Because that clinic, Milpark or Parkland, they were well equipped. They had all the best facilities. Like what my Barbara was saying is, patients were treated like customers. Imagine when I enter there, somebody asks me, where are you from? From Zambia. They want to start, can we give you a cup of coffee? They think I'm a customer, but that's how they treat people. But in Zambia, patients are treated like trash because no rich people go into those hospitals. A few people who've got extra more money, they go to the private, what do they call them, Barbara? Private, within the hospital, there's a private
private section,
yes,
high cost sections.
High cost, and they treated much better than the people on the low cost. And you find more doctors on the high cost than on the low cost. But that's not the way it should be. Even the poorest Zambian require the best facilities. They require a CT scan. They require an MRI scan. But Frank, an MRI scan might cost up. I was shocked by Frank. I was referred to by NHS to go and do an MRI scan because I had a fracture. And NHS was busy. So they referred me to a company, a private company, because they needed to do a scan quickly. It's a private company. They are based at Amex Stadium, the stadium for Brighton. That MRI scan is in a vehicle. It's parked outside the stadium. So you have to go into, it's outside. That I asked them, how much would this cost? They told me about $1 million, £1 million. That's about $1.5 million. You tell me that's how much we were paying for a fire truck. It's parked outside. So they can actually park one at UTH, one at, it comes in a vehicle like a truck and trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can park one at UTH. They don't have to put a building. One at Ndola Central Hospital, Quito Central Hospital. That's about $1.5 million. That's how much we bought those wheelbarrows. It's unbelievable.
Those were actually, those were inflated prices for what they are.
Of wheelbarrows.
And you think of what we built. So 42 million that was spent on, they said, that 42 million wherever it went. Then they built a new airport. That costs a lot of money. If I come into my house and somebody said, I think the roof of your house is falling off, why would I spend a lot of money decorating the house? I need a new roof.
You spot on, but Frank. We didn't need an airport. We didn't need an airport in Ndola because there's no flights. So many flights going into Ndola. Yes, we need an airport in Lusaka, Livingstone, and maybe they would have built one in the north. We've got a lot of tourism, Samfia, Bangweulu, Cassava Bay. Yeah, but not in Ndola. They wanted to steal the money.
Even here about Chilufya, if Bristol Airport or London Heathrow said we need to make this bigger, they don't go and build an airport somewhere. They make an extra runway and make another terminal. They don't spend all that money to build an airport so that the same amount of flights are coming in without an increase. So money is these resources that we have, and we didn't spend it where we need it. We've got, why is it that our women in rural areas, panjinga, because the hospital is miles and miles and miles and miles away. And we think we're going to spend this 350 million, we'll build a new airport. But nobody think, oh, what about our people who haven't got hospitals nearby? What about our people who still don't have drinking water? What about our students who still don't have toilets? And we're not thinking about how we're going to use these resources to make our country better. For me, it just buggers belief. But Wiseman, are you joined us?
Yes, Frank, I'm here. Thank you very much.
How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, and how are you, my brother?
I'm very well, thank you. What is your take?
Thank you very much. Good evening to all TBAKWEtu family, and good evening to our viewers as well. I think, Frank, for me, I will have two appeals, which I'm about to appeal to our government now, the new dawn. Number one, I'm appealing for the president to demolish the SEC, the Anti-Corruption Commission. I think it is not serving any intended purpose in Zambia. This is the reason why we are even seeing all these things happening. When Taruchi Rufia having the guts to start demanding for that money, because that institution, I think, it's a dead facility, according to what I've seen. You can't have something which you are just wasting taxpayers' money to pump in, and it has never prosecuted anyone ever since it was created. So what is the purpose? I think they can overload such kind of institution, maybe create another new institutions which will be working according to the way it's supposed to be done. The police, they are even doing more jobs than the SEC. So for me, I think if we had a very light SEC, the SEC which is up to the task, we wouldn't have seen these high-costed ambulances, fire trucks, airports. We were complaining then to say, how come these things are coming on a high cost? Now we are in government. This is the time we're supposed to see those criminals being prosecuted, but none of them are being prosecuted. Some now they are even now coming on the public to start demanding for money, which is very unfortunate. Imagine here in Kabwe, most of the people, they were drinking defective medicine, condoms, etc. Mention them, and no one seems to care. The hospitals, they have got no medicine. No one seems to care. I remember last time when this same Bonanza, we call him Bonanza, Mr. Chirufia, came to Kabwe at Kabwe General Hospital. They knew that the minister would be coming. What did they do? They came with the medicine from Lusaka, packed in the ambulance, they offloaded, then they tell the cameraman to start capturing those things and showing the people to say, people, they are saying there's no medicine. Here, the medicine. They came with the medicine. Imagine all those things were happening. And up to now, we are still waiting to see who will be prosecuted. And no one yet is being prosecuted. And we are still paying those people caught by SEC taxpayers' money. I think it's unfair for us who are ordinary Zambians to see such kind of things are happening. We thought when we have the new Dawn government, I think a quick reaction will be happening. People will be arrested, and the people will be squeezed to so that they can pay the plight which they gave to people of Zambia. But now it is us who are about to start paying the same people who punishes us. So for me, I think the first one is an appeal. Please, Mr. President, I think overrule that institution, because even the money for faith, it was recovered by the police, not by the SEC. So the SEC, I think, is a failed project in Zambia. Let them overrule it and maybe create a new institution which will be doing the job which we people of Zambia are demanding. When it comes to the issue of tribalism, I think although I'm a bit behind about that, we have already talked about that. I think tribalism in Zambia, it does not exist. It only exists to the dead mind like Mr. Lunatic and the others. Because you are only going to hear about tribalism when it comes to politics. When it comes to churches, we mingle in every church with different tribes. You never mention anyone who will be bringing tribalism. When it comes to soccer now, tomorrow Zambia is playing, you never ever hear anyone saying, I can't play with this player on the midfielder because he's stronger or he's rangy. No one. Mention whatever place you're going to mention in Zambia. We mingle with each and everyone. Only when it comes to politics. This is what now people now are saying, he's now playing tribalism because he's appointing these people. No, he's doing these people. And President Akandechema is making a mistake of listening to them to now start fearing of pointing Tongas. If I were him, I could have even appointed all the DC's Tongas and said they are all Zambians. Before they became Tonga, they were Zambians. I think you shouldn't be dancing to their tunes. We should be doing things rightly according to the way Zambians we are known. Not this which we are seeing now. We are even seeing people trying to justify the languages, the tribes, which is unfair. I think for me, please, we are all Zambians, and let us keep on that, and let us continue believing one another. Let us continue inspiring one another based on whatever tribe you're coming from. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wiseman. It's an interesting point there. ACC. But Jacqueline, is ACC, is there change that needs to come from there? Is it adequate for what we needed to do.
Thank you so much, Frank. Firstly, I want to say I'll sort out my video over the weekend so that I think in the coming days I could have my video on properly. What we need at ACC is a complete overhaul. So dissolve the current management up to, you know, in some cases, even assistant investigative officers. And then redeploy fresh minds with energy and those that have the interest of the people at heart. There are a lot of things happening in Zambia that are very sad. And I know that most of you are aware, you've touched on a lot of things. If you look back on the distribution of drugs to expired drugs to our people, a lot has come out of that. We've seen a sudden spike in cancer amongst women. Clearly, I'm not a doctor, but there's a lot of speculation that it could have been caused by expired drugs, contraceptives especially. So perhaps medical doctors one day will tell us, but there's so much cancer. It's unbelievable. You also note that we had expired aspirin. Now, expired Cafamol as well, expired Panadols. And some of these are painkillers that are daily painkillers that you buy off the shelf, no prescription, basically. And people were taking those. So we've seen people with a lot of different ailments that we've never seen before, very unexplained. And because we lack the equipment in most of our hospitals for thorough investigation, people die. And Zambians die a lot. I know I have a friend who said to me, look, I was working in a hospital in Amsterdam. We went 3-4 months without having a death. Then she came in and decided to work part-time at UTH. She only worked there for a month. She said she couldn't because they were having 21 bodies a day. And she didn't understand. When you look at the level of investigations from the SEC, for instance, and what we've been subjected to, I have no apology to make. It's been a joke. You could tell that people have been exchanging money to shield criminals. And unfortunately, what has happened in our country, it looks like if you and I are educated, then our mission to having, you know, attained an education is to be able to steal that which belongs to poor people. And that is very sad because it's the learned, the so-called respected people that we have in society, the people that others are looking up to equalize wealth, distribute wealth equally, and ensure that, you know, everyone has the human rights, the basics of human rights, but instead we steal from them and we disadvantage our people. We have so many young people that are uneducated in this country. You just can't understand. And when you ask them, majority will tell you, I work with young people, by the way. I work in also the development industry in an NGO. And when you ask some of these young people, they'll just tell you, look, I dropped out of school because there was no one to really support me in school. Or I stopped in grade 9, or in a grade 6, in a grade 5, nafuma kumushina isa mulusaka nsange nchito. Musaka na mwena basanga tamuli nchito. And then you find abakashana bengi abayiche. Sorry, maule, you know? And it hurts. It really hurts. You see potential. You meet a girl, you can actually see this girl put in a good school, given the equal opportunity, you know, that everyone deserves as a young girl, she will excel. You see young boys and youths, even adolescents that are abusing alcohol to a level that shocks you because they go back home, there's no food, there's no electricity, they don't have water where they stay. Things are so bad. And when there's a corruption case involving millions of money from even people like our former Minister of Health, just name them from the last regime, a clique of thieves. Nobody was willing to go the extra mile from the SEC. And for me, this is from reading what we read in the papers, observations we made, analysis we made. They did not go the extra mile to investigate these cases thoroughly. People were given money to throw away cases. People were acquitted and found not guilty through flimsy ways. So you also start questioning the judiciary. Today, I don't want to find myself on the wrong side of the law in Zambia because I don't trust the judiciary. Because I know people that are in jail today unjustly. And it will take this new government to assist some of these people because they were thrown in there just because someone paid someone somewhere and said, no, just lock him up, and someone goes to prison like that. So yes, the ACC for me needs to be disbandled. Just completely just unpack it and then let's repack it with people that are willing to investigate these cases thoroughly. And if we need help, I think the two countries, the UK and the USA, that have offered to assist. Let's allow them to come in and assist us. And my plea to the new lawmakers, especially the lawmakers under the UPND, please, have a heart for the people. Tontonka nyen kofi abantu, abana abaiche. Bakwatire nkofi omutima wakwati 10 million ndesu napo. Nganabika mofe 5 olu UTH, na isabika kuna imbi 5 kuchipata general. Na kukaputa tuwabika ko 4 na 3. If kachinja ni if. Mamona already, the president has shown us, people are happy around the school fees issue. The fact that next year,
Jacqueline,
children are going to class. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's so much to talk about, and we can run and we can run and we can run and we can run. I'm sorry, Jacqueline, to interrupt you there. It's just I've just looked at the time and I thought we've gone we've gone past the time there. And we can run. There's so much to talk about, and I think the SEC issue, that could be another issue that we will talk about on the next live video. Thank you everyone for joining us, and don't forget, get yourself some stars. Get yourself some stars, and that's what keeps us coming every single week. We come every week not because we've got nothing to do. Believe me that everyone is busy, but we come here because we got passion for our country, got passion to educate our people, and we got passion to keep the conversations going, and to make sure that what happened in the previous regime does not happen, that we are talking to our people every single time. So support us by getting the stars, and also you can also join TBAKWETU membership. That's about £3.45, $3.45. Most people buy coffee every day with that amount. I'm sounding like Dr. Munsha. I'm learning from the best every day. So if you just support and join the group, and we keep the conversation going, that it's an opportunity where we can discuss this issue, that we don't live in a time where people are misinformed, that we can helpfully debate the issues that are going on in our country. So thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you, Himba, for being with us. Thank you, Mr. Patrick Chilufya. Thank you, Dr. Barbara. Thank you, Wiseman. And thank you, Jacqueline, for being with us. This has been a presentation of TBAKWETU with me, Frank Salika, my co-host, Himba. Thank you so much. God bless our country. Have a good night, and we shall see you soon.
Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless Zambia.
Amen. I think we're still live, aren't we?